Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is The Fuzz, and this is my first video for the game Faeria. Now, I intend to make quite a few of these, but the focus of all my videos is going to be Pandora, aka Arena, aka Trials, aka the draft mode of the game, because I've played quite a few draft modes and quite a few CCGs, but this one is something else. So in this video, I'm basically just gonna give you like an introduction to what's going on, because it is a little different than what you'd expect. In the future, I'll expand into things like how to pick cards, which cards are good, which cards are bad, so on and so forth. So for those of you who are more experienced in the game, you're probably not gonna learn much from this one, but you'll probably want to watch the later ones. But for those of you who have not played Pandora, here is a brief introduction. So when you start, you've got two choices. This is the regular coin. This is the ticket you need to play. You can just buy this for money or for coins, or if you don't have it, once per day you'll get like a phantom version, which is like basically a shorter version of the Pandora run. With this one is 6 wins and 2 losses, but there is a balance patch coming, or just a patch coming that's going to change this. But anyways, let's just grab one. We'll do a draft, and I'll show you a little bit of the game, because there's something in the game itself that's very interesting. Anyways, let's get drafting. We'll look this pretty cinematic. So first thing we'll notice, we're drafting 30 cards. Pretty similar theme to a lot of games. Probably Hearthstone is where you would see it first. Pick 3 cards and you get 30 choices. Pretty similar. Now here, you have 5 choices. And this is because you've got basically 5 different, I guess, colors of cards. Of the 5 colors, 1 will be locked by default. So for me, I'm not getting any yellow cards, but I will be offered red, blue, green, and neutral cards. And you get a choice of 5, right? That's pretty good. And also, when you pick a card of a certain color, that color is more likely to show up in the future. So it is possible to draft mostly monocolor decks and not have to worry about, well, maybe what if I'm not offered anymore? But nah, it's okay. So for this one, I'm just kind of gonna go with what I want. It's 4 neutrals and 1 like an okay red card. I'll just pick like a decent neutral card. Now we have some choices, right? We have 2 green ones and 1 blue one. In general, I like drafting no more than 2 colors. I tried 3 once. It went badly. I think 2 is the most you want. Of these 3, this one, because it costs 3 green lands, is very committing. So I'm going to just pick the Triton Banquet and keep going with it. Now, this goes along typical. I'm just going to kind of pick whatever. I don't even care that much. It's when we get a little bit later, but something very important happens that needs to be discussed separately. Every 10 picks, as you'll see on just whatever cards. This deck is going to be terrible, by the way, but hey, it is what it is. Oh yeah, there you go. Next pick. Now, what you're seeing here, these 3 cards are called treasure cards. These are much more powerful than regular cards, right? You'll be offered 3 of these total in your draft every 10 picks. So at the end of your draft, you'll have 30 of your regular cards and 3 of these treasures. Now between these 3, Doom Scythe is pretty ridiculous, so I'm just gonna pick that. Now as to how these treasure cards come up, that's where the interesting part is. Again, don't pay much attention to the actual picks. I'm just trying to pick like whatever cards so we can get through it quickly and get to the actual game, because the game itself, well, the best way to put it would be to say that there's 2 phases of the game, and the second phase is the one that includes the treasure cards. Oh, there you go, another one. Oh, the hammer is pretty ridiculous, so we're gonna pick that. Turning things into frogs is really fun. I don't even know, honestly. I just want to pick some decent cards. This deck's probably gonna suck, honestly, because I'm picking so quickly, but it doesn't matter too much. We're just doing this to get an example. Oh, there we go. And one last card, one last treasure. I'll take the ruby. So we've drafted a deck. We've got 30 regular cards and 3 treasures. Now we jump in the game. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip to the part where the actual game happens. Alright, there we go. Oh, we got a legend player. I'm gonna get wrecked for sure. Yeah, definitely. Anyways. So, well, wait for it. This is the Mulligan phase. There's something interesting I want to show you. Like, right now, you see my deck has 27 cards at the bottom here, and because 3 of them are in my hand. Well, just wait a little bit. Now, oh, look at that. Now my deck just magically gained like 9 cards. What happened, right? So, we drafted 3 treasures, right? What about the other 6 cards? What are these 6 cards that I have and these 6 cards my opponent has? Well, if you notice to the top right, there's this kind of a pentagram looking thing. Like it's composed of 5 different pieces, right? I'm just gonna make like a whatever move here. Well, these 12 cards that are shuffled in our decks are what's called shards of Pandora. When a shard is drawn, that player redraws the card, and the shard gets added to this, I don't know what you want to call it, this thing that's floating up here. And, oh, there we go. The first shard was drawn, so now you see the little pie thing gets filled, right? And then it was him who drew it from his deck, so he still has 5 of these, I still have 6 of mine, and then he just redrew the card. Now, once all 5 of these are filled, once 5 Pandora shards have been drawn, grand total from either player deck, that's when the game enters that second stage. It's called Pandora Awakens, but you could almost think of it as like a sudden death mode. And the game changes a little bit, and I'm just gonna go ahead and skip ahead to that part so you can get an idea of just what happens. I'll see you in a little bit. Ah, there we go. Pandora Awakens. That was the 5th shard being drawn. Now, what happened? The pie is full. I got a treasure. My opponent got a treasure. And now the wells are no longer producing Faeria. That's important. And each player now receives 6 Faeria instead of 3, as you'll notice. So what happens is, because you're getting double the Faeria, you can do twice as much stuff, and you have access to these, you know, powerful treasure cards. So the game's gonna accelerate now, and if you had any synergy going on to try to capture the wells to benefit from the wells, that's gone. So that makes certain cards that kind of want to that want you to gather from enemy wells and such, those cards get worse. So keep that in mind when you're drafting, because whatever you're doing is not going to last forever. So basically at this point I'm just going to go ahead and finish up the game. It's going fairly well. I got bursted down quite a little bit early on, but I got pretty good board control, and I have a ridiculously powerful treasure. But my opponent has a treasure too. So basically the first person who flips the last Pandora card, all the Pandora cards get eliminated from your deck, but now that player gets to use the treasure first because it's still his turn, but the second player is the one who gets the 6 Faeria first, basically. Gets to take advantage of the extra Faeria first. Second of all, if a treasure card is drawn, because remember, there's 3 treasure cards. If a treasure card is drawn, both players get a treasure. So right now, if I go for a card draw, if I had drawn a treasure, my opponent would also get a treasure. So what this means is you basically always have the same number of treasures as your opponent, unless they have an effect that generates more of them. But otherwise, it's always your 3 treasures versus their 3 treasures, and you never have more treasures than your opponent. So we each have 1, right? He still has his. Oh, actually, we killed, it was that yak thing, that big 6/9. So I know he doesn't have a treasure, but he knows I have a treasure. And if he draws a treasure, I'm gonna get a treasure, right? So that's essentially how that works. This does mean the game's gonna end quicker, because with double the Faeria, and, you know, powerful, ridiculous cards that the treasures are, yeah, it's gonna be like that. And I do have this hammer which just keeps dealing 3 damage, 3 damage, 3 damage. And basically, it's not much danger for me right now. Just, I don't know, play whatever. Play a big grizzly. It's possible, of course, for a game to end before you get to Pandora, but it's rare. You should plan for Pandora to happen in your game, and so when you pick treasures, you generally want to pick treasures that will have a big impact, because if you draw a treasure at the right time, you could swing the game back. And my opponent resigns because I have complete control over the board, and he didn't have any way to finish me off. So, yeah, that's how Pandora works. You keep going until you lose 3 times. I'm actually surprised it did as well as I did with this deck, but it's not just your deck, it's how you play it. Keep that in mind. So, yeah, that's it for the Pandora introduction. It's really cool because there's a lot more to it than just drafting a deck. It's about using the deck. It's about predicting what can happen. And sometimes, you know, Pandora can come really quickly or really late, and that could have an impact on the game. There'll be times when you need it to come because there's, you know, you have good treasures. Let's say your treasures are removal, and you need to get to that stage because maybe you're behind on the board. If your opponent is controlling the Faeria wells, it is good for you that Pandora is activated because the wells are no longer producing Faeria. So that advantage goes away, and the game is kind of equalized in that sense. But at the same time, it's also accelerated because both players get 6 Faeria every turn to work with. And that's enough to play a really big card basically every turn. And of course, the treasures. Like in this draft, I actually got really good treasures. So this might actually be enough to carry this. Otherwise, I mean, it's an okay deck. But with good enough treasures, you'll definitely go pretty far. So actually, covering the treasures is something I do want to do because they are very important. Some of them can be really, really devastating. And some are, well, they're all good. They're all better than, like, average cards. But some are definitely better than others. And I can tell you from these 3, I got pretty lucky. Anyways, thanks for listening. I hope you learned a little bit. Go ahead and try. Use your Phantom coin that you get 1 every day. And just try it out. It might suck a little bit early on. Trust me, my first Pandora run was terrible. I went 1-3, and I only even got 1 point because my opponent played badly. So yeah, don't be discouraged if you go like 0-3. This game is a little bit more complicated than your typical, like, just, you know, play creatures go face or trade sort of thing. There's a lot more to it than that. But you know what? That's what makes the wins more rewarding, and that's what makes losses not feel like you got cheated, because there's usually a reason why you lost. Yeah, sometimes they'll have a ridiculous combo or something, but more often than not, there is something you did wrong or something they did really right. But anyways, I hope to see you out there. I'll see you in the next video. Let's go and beat up some legend players in Pandora. It's my favorite thing to do.